Hi, what is up? 420. Happy 420, everybody. How is all of you doing?
Woohoo!
That was the most unenthusiastic hello I've ever fucking heard in my
That's a hello, man. What do you expect,
Because everybody's
Everybody's
stoned,
just
man.
mellow.
Okay. In your most mellow, calm hello. We do that?
Hello.
What's up?
Hello, man. What's up?
Good evening.
Good evening. I like that one. How are you guys? Happy 420. What have you guys done today?
Smoke more of the weeds.
That's right.
There was
Celebrating
weed
420
smoking.
for everybody's time zone.
I'm drinking mine.
Some weed smoking.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's right. You got the cool stuff, like the syrup that you put in the soda. That's so awesome. That is so cool. Have you guys ever tried the sodas
Well, you know,
before?
sis. Ooh, yummy.
Have you guys ever tried it?
To work, but I got high.
No, I've got the cherry limeade syrup, so I mix it in my Sprite.
That is so good. That sounds delicious. That reminds me of like something from Sonic's.
Yeah.
Yummy.
You guys ever tried it? Sodas? No? None of you?
Can't say that I have.
Oh, so good.
Homemade
So
sodas
good.
are the bomb, sis.
That's right. That's
So
right.
yummy.
Thanks everybody for coming. Looks like we've got 6 people on so far. I see that the hot R word chicks already said what's up in the comment section. So what's up, hot R word chicks? Good to see you. I think that's one of Willie's watchers. So that's awesome. How do we want to get this started? You guys want to start asking questions, or actually let's introduce ourselves. Let's start off with Brandy. Brandy is our edible person, so let's go.
Yeah, I am Brandy Weaver. I am from Arkansas. I am also known as ACAB Includes Ice and Border Patrol.
That's right. That's right. All right, and then next we got Johnny.
Oh, hey. So I'm Johnny Akzam. You guys know me from around there and here. And I currently live in Minnesota. I've lived kind of all over. I was born in Missouri, which is a state that really sucks, but has legalized pot. And I live in a state that's supposed to be like relatively progressive. And we'll get to it later, but we're still talking about legalizing it for recreational use. It's legalized for medical use.
Same here.
Come on, Warren, let's go. You're next on the totem pole. Where are you at right now? It sounds like you're about to get
arrested.
Warren.
I wanted to make sure they weren't coming to get me. Hi, my name is Warren. I'm in Brooklyn.
Hi, Warren.
Hi, you shut up. You'll get your turn in. God.
I'm sorry, I forgot
What
where we
show
were.
is this? Jimmy, what are you kind of show you running in, Jimmy?
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
They run the crack house behind me better than you run this little circus. All right, take my mic off. All right, I'm done.
All right, we're muting Warren. Who's next? Joe? I was just kidding.
No, I'm not muted.
Wow, was that extra Bulla of the filter? Sorry, Joe.
That was awesome.
That was acting 102.
And
scene.
And scene. That's
And
right.
scene.
Except his scenes don't end because he's so high that he really thinks.
Hey, Joe,
like
you're muted, buddy.
Yeah, I am.
You're muted.
Right, and I was.
There you go. All right, try it again, Joe.
There we go. Okay, so I live in the great state of Idaho, that libertarian state, where driving through with a semi-truck full of hemp, not even marijuana, but hemp, they try and stick you away for 10 years. That's how libertarian Idaho is when it comes to marijuana. So, right, we're here to change that because this group here, Kind Idaho, medical marijuana, patient advocacy, we're going to make it happen this year. Because the problem's the law, not the plant.
That's right. I'll give a secular amen to that, for sure. Brother Yona, introduce yourself.
Yeah, just in response to Joe, I remember the song. That was a little bit more than the law would allow. Just the good old boys. Anyways, woohoo! Smoke more of the weeds. Coming to you live from the Huntington Tri-State Metroplex, if you want to call it that, where Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia all join. And you have 3 breeds of Appalachian. The Hillbilly from Kentucky, the Hilljack from West Virginia, and the Buckabilly. That's right. There are rednecks in Ohio. Newsflash. And great news to report on the legalization front, but we'll dive into that later. Also known as a journalist, a DJ. So doing all kinds of stuff. Great to be here with you guys again, Shane, Sis, Brandy, Joe, Johnny, Uncle, and Ed, in the place to be when it comes to the munchies. Chicago. Oh.
Right. I agree with that for sure. Speaking of Chicago and munchies, Ed, let's introduce
Hello,
you.
everyone. I'm Deep Dish Pizza enthusiast Ed Heller. I host a show called Chicago Corner on Tuesday evenings at 7:30 Central, along with Jerry Vasilatos, who was going to join us this evening, but his computer's still on the fritz, so he's waiting to get that back. And he's like, "Hey, man, you want to jump on this show?" I'm like, "Well, I don't smoke a whole lot of pot right now, mostly because I'm broke and can't afford to, but I can definitely talk about the munchies." My first experience with weed was when I used to work for a men's popular publication as a photo retoucher. So when we had parties at Playboy, there were weed things that were passed around, usually cigarettes, usually joints, So I've had weed over the decades. It's just never been one of those things that had been in regular use for me. I tended to spend most of my money on food ingredients because I like to cook. So when I discovered that there were things like cannabis extracts and can butter and stuff like that, I'm like, oh man, I wish I wasn't broke right now. Because I'm like, I want to make the best brownies ever, but also I want to find a way to make a deep dish weedza.
It shouldn't be too hard. I mean, there's people doing it. You just, like you said, you just need to be able to buy the ingredients for it.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be like, when do you add the cannabis component to it, to where you're not over baking it and burning out the stuff, or making it like not completely take over the flavor of the dish.
Right.
It's got to complement. But yeah, okay. So what else is going on? Oh, Illinois legalized.
Maybe the approach would be with a. I'm going to say, Ed, you could try doing a cannabis sfincione. You know what I'm saying? It's a special type of pizza.
Oh yeah, like it'd be like kind of like a stuffed pizza, but with cannabis inside. I mean, the cheese,
what you can do,
the oil in the cheese, the fat in the cheese would definitely be a good way to carry that into your system pretty easily when you're eating it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. That's what I agree. Like, I was thinking you just find an ingredient on the pizza that would go with it really well, that you can add the can of butter or cannabis to it. So like, you don't have to put the butter into
What about the dough?
Right. Like, you don't have to do that, because
sure.
when you're baking can of butter, you have to keep it under a certain temperature, or else you're going to burn out the THC. So cookies that could take 15 minutes are going to take you like almost an hour, because you have to keep it at under 250 degrees.
Okay.
So,
I think I know the solution then, especially for deep dish, because what you would do is, because you put the cheese right on top of the dough before you put the sauce on top. So you would put the can of butter between the cheese and the dough. So while it's baking, it's not going to get too hot, because it's basically approaching that temperature between like 160 and 200 or something when the pizza's finally baked. So when everything's cooked through, then you're in the perfect spot for that. But getting back to my state for a second, just so people know out there, the state of Illinois has recreational cannabis legal here. We started in our state with medical, and you had to get a medical card for it, but they finally legalized it in the state. So if you want to, any adult can go and buy weed here now, which is great.
That's right. That's right.
All right.
We're like that in California. Shane, go for it. Introduce yourself.
All right, so everybody on this channel already knows who I am.
As
so
it turns out, Kentucky borders 7 states, and Illinois.
So everybody on this channel
All
knows
right.
who I am, so I'm gonna not introduce myself. If you're coming to the KRTD channel and you don't know who I am, you might be on the wrong channel. So, yeah.
All right. Well, hey, what's up? If anybody doesn't know who I am, my name is Jimmy. I am the host of the show What, where where I do bong rips for tips. So if you guys want to hook us up today, we are monetized here on KRTD Media Channel, if that's what you're watching it on. And I will personally do bong rips for tips today. If anybody wants to give out some super chat tips or whatever, hook it up. We are also streaming on Extra Bulla. Warren, we're streaming on your channel as well, right?
I don't know
are
if we
we?
set that up. It doesn't look like we ended up setting it up. Sorry, Warren.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to add it in right now. Hold on. Give me a
Fix
quick
it.
sec. Fixing it right now. It literally takes a second. Y'all go check out Warren's channel, Extra Bulla.
Oh, hey,
live
don't
streaming
worry, anything on my YouTube channel. No, I'm kidding.
We're now streaming this on Warren's channel, so go give him a hookup. Here goes Warren. He's
Jimmy,
in
you're
the crack
fired.
house right now, so anything could happen. He's a
Good job. God damn it.
and I think that's it. So give us a like, give us a subscribe if you haven't yet. I see some people in the comment section that I don't know yet. BN, good to meet you. Official People Party, that's Jim. Good to see you again. James Doe, thank you for being here. And also, okay, hot R word chicks, thank you all for being here. Shane, do you want to get everything started now that we've done the introductions?
Absolutely. So let's
Awesome.
go ahead and start. So the way I'm going to do this is there's a lot of us
Whoa.
here. So
What's the only guy?
I'm going to go around and I'm going to ask somebody a question. Then I'm going to ask them a couple of follow-ups. Then we're going to move on and we're going to hope we get to all the questions. And if not, who cares? Because why not? Okay. So the first question I'm going to ask is just going to be what brought you to the marijuana legalization space. And we're going to start with Joe because right now Joe's working with Kind Idaho to legalize marijuana in Idaho medically. So what brought you to that?
Right. So, and this is one of those great things as a non-using marijuana activist is people go, what, you don't use? Why are you bothering to help get people to smoke? Why are you getting them the stuff? And a lot of it is this is about health, medical care for me, because I got so many friends, I got so many family that are better people because they use it. Whether we're talking vets with post-traumatic stress injury, survivors of sexual trauma, people who have had traumatic brain injuries, cancer survivors. Yeah, I mean, we got it all. And people are better because of it. Whether it takes the edge off the anxiety, whether it lets them go out and be part of the community, be better themselves. Pain management's another big reason because an awful lot of people I know, vets, injuries, from downrange, just older people, arthritis kicking in, start using the palms and the CBD oil. The thing is, this makes people better. It gives them an edge. It gives them, it takes the edge off of life for so many people so they can actually enjoy it. This is what brought me to the whole thing, was creating opportunity for people to be able to enjoy their lives around me that much more.
Okay. And what's going on in your state when it comes to marijuana legalization?
Did you basically say that your friends need to be high to put up with you?
Right.
That's exactly
I
what
just wondered if that's what I heard.
I know that. I know somebody was going to hear that the second I actually said it.
Hey, whatever works, man.
Right? I thought the same thing too, but I have to be stoned to tolerate everyone, so I totally understood.
But at least he knows, and he's trying to get more friends by getting more people high.
Oh, Joe, I'll be your friend.
Thank you.
But you're already high. It's just proving my point, people. Come
Right.
on.
I'm just proving the point.
We tease
Anyway,
here.
Joe, go ahead. What's your state doing?
Idaho, it's still illegal. 3 ounces or more. And for those of you who do edibles, you go across the border over into Oregon, you pick up 2 candy bars, you're over 3 ounces. That's 10 years in prison, man. That's the way we do it here in Idaho. You get caught coming back across the border. We spend $3 million a week at border town dispensaries, and we still send people to prison for 10 years for 2 candy bars worth of edibles. And that's where we're at. So a lot of us got together and we're thinking, you know what? We need something for the people here. We need something for the patients. We need to do some patient advocacy because medical freedom, right? Medical choice. This is about making sure that you got the best options for you, regardless of what works for you. So we started some initiatives. And this year, the initiative we got is the Medical Marijuana Initiative. And the idea is to get cannabis cards, medical cannabis cards here in the state of Idaho, get it legalized so that patients aren't driving across the border to get high, to drive back home, or otherwise commit federal felonies by transporting, federally prohibited drugs across state borders. We can actually grow it here, process it here, sell it here, tax it here, $3 million a week. I mean, when you take a look at the velocity of money, when you take a look at the way that stuff circulates, that's $1 billion a year industry from top to bottom, from, when you plant it into the ground till somebody smokes it at the other end of things. $1 billion a year we could be doing here in the state of Idaho. And right now we're spending $3 million a week in border town dispensaries. So this is, again, one of those big reasons why I'm involved in what's going on. Medical choice, medical freedom, patient advocacy, and of course, economic sustainability. Keep it here, keep it local.
Thank you. So now, the same question I'm going to ask to our 2024 presidential candidate. Can you tell me what brought you to the medical marijuana, the marijuana legalization space, Mr. Presidential Candidate?
Wait a minute. Is that? Are you still talking to Joe?
No, I'm talking to the presidential candidate.
Is Joe running?
No, you're the one there. Extra Bulla for president 2024.
I thought you were running too. Look, I'm pretty high myself. It is 420, y'all. So we're gonna take this magical journey together, y'all. Okay. We're all just going to hang on together, right? Like those kids that are tethered on the sidewalks when they're going to the school, we're going to be tethered together. Okay. Well, now, what was the question again?
What brought you to the space to want to legalize marijuana?
Oh, that old question. Well, being the crack enthusiast that I am, since, this guy, I kind of like to dabble in the OGs, I like to go a little greenhouse rock a little bit, a little some of the smokes from the back of the way back. And, I tell you, it's a hell of a lot cheaper than going to the Rite Aid. That's for sure. And now here in New York, that you can actually get it like at a regular shop, right?
Oh yeah.
I know they were mentioning before, like you have to go like through airport security in California to go in the dispensaries. Here, it's like it's like going in a bodega and going and pick up a pack of Newports. Just, hey, you got any of that Christmassy wickety whack stuff? Yeah, here you go. All right, how's your mom doing? Okay, all right, I'll see you. And then you leave. That's how they do it. There's none of this, Terminator 2 stuff or anything. There's none of that stuff, man.
So Warren, I gotta ask you, So I'm a former New Yorker. You're a New Yorker. When I left New York, it was still legal. They were still kind of getting to the shit. When I went back and I went into Manhattan, there was a weed truck. Have you visited the weed truck? It's like a food truck, but with like edibles and blunts and all kinds of shit. Have you visited the truck?
Oh.
Yeah, that's Fast Eddie down on 4th.
That's the ghost truck. Don't believe those rumors, Shane. It's that truck died like 2 weeks ago, and that's just a ghost truck. No, there's a real truck that does it. Yeah, there's people that they sell them on the streets, just like the folks with the hats and the belts and everything else. They're selling the weed right on the street there too.
A euro and a joint.
Yeah,
yeah.
there's literally a place right at the end of the block there. Like I said, you walk in, and they just have them in the little cases there, and you're like, "Oh, that looks nice. I'll have that, please." And then you it's the first time I ever bought pot with a debit card. It freaked me out. I said, "Wait a minute, this is unnatural. This should be done in a sleazy part of town."
No, but that's what we're doing these days. We're going. Remember the old joke about having the old margarita truck drive through the neighborhoods, all the white women coming out and start. Woo! Now we got the weed trucks. So we got the cannabis trucks.
Hey, Uncle, is weeds legal on the other side of the Hudson River? In New Jersey, I mean. Is weed legal in New Jersey? Recreational weed?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think Shane has a really good story about this. Do you want to share that?
All right. Can we share my article?
Yeah, I'm bringing it up right now. Go for it. Start talking.
All right. So in New Jersey, we're going to have something. Do you guys remember the hookah lounges? Everybody remember that? Well, there's going to be a cannabis lounge in Atlantic City in the hotel. This is going to be a new dispensary and cannabis consumption lounge. So the Claridge Hotel recently approved a house, lounge and just the casino. So basically, you're going to be able to walk in as soon as this summer. You don't have an exact date yet, but you're going to be able to walk in, and it's going to be 10,000 square feet and 2 stories, and it's going to be located on the boardwalk or near the boardwalk. So you're going to be able to be at the beach, kind of near the boardwalk area. You're on the boardwalk, you're walking, you're going on the rides, doing all kinds of shit. Maybe you feel like getting high. Now you can go to the cannabis lounge when you're done hanging out at the boardwalk and gambling. Yeah. So
that's really cool because I see it. It says right here, an owner of High Rollers Dispensary told the Philadelphia Inquiry, "It feels good, like a good fit for the city as a whole to utilize cannabis for tourism." And I really like that. Like, it sounds like a funny joke, but for real, you're really gonna get some tourism out there with this. This is awesome.
And the residents are gonna like it too, because a lot of the residents actually
way to go, Jersey Shore Stoners.
Right.
And the residents are going to be able to go hang out at the cannabis lounge and go smoke, just kind of hang out there. And the tourists, but we, the residents, want to use it too. So.
Well, and then they're trying to capture the spirit of what Amsterdam's doing too. They want to make it like this nice, by the seaside resort place. And
what
now
did I tell you earlier, Shane? Exactly what I said. I said, look up Amsterdam. It sounds exactly like what they're doing.
Or you've got your hotel, your restaurant,
profitable.
And your
weed.
weed.
No wonder why more and more states are medicalizing it or decriminalizing it or fully legalizing it, because for businesses and governments alike, in terms of revenue collection, cannabis is a winner.
It is.
And then they'll install a little.
How much money Colorado and other states have raked in from taxes?
Oh, yeah.
Then they'll install a little Ed's Pizza kiosk right there, so that after you've done your little, getting high, you can go get a slice of pizza and you got it all yummy.
Exactly.
Oh, there definitely be not just
be weed pizza
there.
So you'll just keep it going.
I had this whole plan out when I first learned that Illinois was going to be legalizing. I'm like, well, if I ever get the money and I can start to open something like a restaurant or something, I was going to call it the Barbecue Bakery.
Ooh.
And so I was going to do smoke barbecue. I was going to have like a section that was baked goods, you know, like cupcakes and cakes and stuff. And also we could do pizza, of course.
Of
But
course.
all of those things could be potentially infused with cannabis or not. You could have like two sides to the
A little
restaurant. You'd
mix.
have one.
You want to have hearty food, you know, you
Yeah.
don't always want to be, if you want to come down, some people would want to come down from their high. I don't know why you would, but some people would.
Well, you
And,
could basically
you know,
have a
they-
separated kitchens. Like you'd have, it could be like a self-serve kind of ticket situation where people would go up to the counter, the cannabis food counter, and order that stuff, and then they go to the regular food counter and order that stuff. Like they order cheese fries from the regular food counter, right? But then they go and
Separate
get
counters, Ed. That
brownies or
sounds
whatever. Yeah.
racist. That sounds racist, Ed.
It's
Segregation
kind of racist.
of smokers and non-smokers. Come on, Ed.
I'm just saying you have the
smokers and
choice, and then
non-smokers.
it's like a self-serve ticket kind of a thing. So
Gotcha.
you like, obviously, like the cannabis line is going to be longer than the regular food line, maybe, depending
Depends.
on where
It
you
really
are in the
depends
day.
on where people are at in their high and eating.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
really does.
Yeah, the food-
Somebody
Johnny's
might
got
be
it. The food
high
may
enough
actually be
and
like
just
that-
want
that
to eat
good,
some
too.
smoked ribs. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Might be hungry, not
Yeah.
worried about getting high anymore. Because some people do manage their high. I was just joking
Ed,
before.
Ed, I'm going to do you a big favor here, Ed. Write this down if you need to. Best idea for Chicago ever.
Okay.
Sell pizza from your little box on the CTA. You know what I'm saying? You got everybody riding back and forth, going from home or work or whatever. They're on the L train, right? Boom, Ed's Pizza right there. You know what I'm saying? Boom. You got duffel bags full of food.
Yona knows what he's
You can
talking
thank the
about.
Yona
again.
later.
So let's
Sell the food
move
on
on.
We got
They
a
would,
couple
They
more
would
articles.
definitely lock
So,
down on that
we
if
also-
they caught me doing it, though. You got to get permits to sell food.
Oh, of course,
So,
yeah.
Oh, you got to be gangster about it, Ed. You got to be totally gangster.
Well,
you know?
I mean, we
Shot
already
town
have
down.
like the tamale guys. Some of you may have tamale guys in your city, where the people prepared to, like before they had this food craze with all the people delivering food and all this other stuff. What we used to have, mostly on weekends and stuff, were roving vendors with a little cooler that was full of hot tamales, and they would go from bar to bar. And so this one guy, they called him the tamale guy. This guy ended up actually opening a restaurant because he was so popular. And when the lockdown happened, he became super popular because it was like
He just
people
went back around
wanted
the
to get
pushing
food.
his carts, right?
Yeah. And you talking about munchies. I mean, it's these comfort foods that you think about when you have like that situation where you're like, oh man, I need something. And so
Man,
if
good
you
old
don't have a bag of
tamales are
Funyuns
good.
handy, you're like, okay, White Castles, maybe, obviously, or the tamale guy. If your city's got a good taco game,
Mm-hmm.
All right, so
you know how you get around that thing with the CTA? You provide CTA security complimentary.
We almost had.
And they can't admit
Yeah.
what they ate, otherwise they lose their jobs.
We tried to get our new mayor on to Chicago Corner before he was elected. He got way too busy, but maybe we can get him to come on for a few minutes. And if we have ideas like this, maybe he'd be receptive to them. Because I'm thinking this guy is like, how can I make this city the best freaking city ever? And if the answer is the roving pizza guy on the CTA trains, I mean, what other city's going to have that?
Crazier things have happened, man. Let's talk after
Yona
we get done with this.
is a genius.
Yeah,
That's right.
So let's kind of.
That's right. See, MTA has Pizza Rat. Chicago has real pizza for people to eat. It's not the rats dragging it down the subway stairs. You get on the Chicago sub, you get to eat the pizza yourself, not watch drag it away.
What are you shitting
So
on
true.
New York pizza? Who the fuck? Where the fuck that come from?
So we have a couple more
This is
articles
about
that
the
I do
pizza
want to
rat.
talk about.
No, humans eat pizza in New York too. Joe. I've
Yes,
seen them
we
do
We
it.
were keeping it nice and civil on the pizza shit.
I
All right,
try to
but
keep.
you know, you want me to put my redneck shoes on? We will go down that road. We will go there. All
Hey, I
right.
was promised there was
Just so
gonna
you
be-
know, the New Yorkers on this call outnumber you.
Oh,
I
no.
was told there
Doesn't
was going to
matter.
be a fight between Chicago, New York style pizza lovers. So we'll get to it later. But I mean,
It's-
You're getting a
eventually
taste of it.
we'll have to give the audience what they want.
All right.
Come
Well,
on, Johnny.
you know,
I got you.
We all know Chicago's not actually pizza. It's just lasagna pie.
It's quiche. It's quiche, right? Isn't
Piece
that
of
what
shit.
Chicago
Hey,
pizza is?
Amateurs.
It's quiche.
Amateurs.
Look at
All
this
right,
box.
so-
It says Pandora on it. Okay,
All
let
right.
me open it up. Oh, Jesus. All this pizza shit's coming out. No, you're never get it back
so at
in.
the end of this, we can have a pizza
It's
debate.
Pandora's
for the
Pizza.
moment. Hold on. For the moment, Johnny, you submitted an article that you wanted to share. And you actually, before you share the article, I wanted to ask you, your state actually has 2 weed parties. You said one of them actually got 20% in the last election.
In my district, in my
In your
congressional district.
So,
right?
what's going on with that?
Well, not the last election. Was it the 2020? Yeah, not the 2022. The 2020 election is when it happened, and that person was, viewed as a spoiler because we have the plurality system, and he got 20,000 votes, and they felt like he took votes away from the Democrats. And our argument was, well, if the Democrat had supported legalization, like everybody was asking him to, then maybe he would have been able to, have that guy. Because I knew the guy who ran. He was actually a supporter of mine when I ran in 2018. And he ran. We have 2. Listen to this. This is why I get frustrated with my friends in the Green Party for telling me to go vote Green, because the Green Party isn't even a minor party in my state. They haven't even gotten to that route. And I tried helping them back in 2016, and I know why they're not up to that status. But we have 2 weed parties. One's the legalized weed party, and one's the cannabis legalization party. I don't know what there's 2 different names. I don't know why they haven't joined forces, but they both have major status, major party status. They've gotten enough votes throughout the state and various different runs that they've got major party status. And the Greens aren't even listed. The Libertarians are listed. So I have an issue. I did vote for the guy, by the way, because I didn't vote for either of the duopoly candidates. This was in 2020 again. We have a bunch of community colleges, and we have the Mankato, which is a huge college, and then we have the University Center in Rochester, which has the U of M satellite. It has Winona State, and actually Winona College is also in the district. We have 3 huge colleges all around. So all these college kids run it, and that's not even counting the 5 community colleges that are part of these, institutions, and they're not getting it that young people have had it. They already in some of these counties have upped the vaping to, which I'm not advocating vaping. It's got its bad issues and nicotine and everything, but they thought fighting it would by raising the age to the age to 21 was the right answer. Well, all the kids did was go to the next county and buy it and then go back home. Duh, So it doesn't help to do those things like that. But I wanted to mention something because I have a unique story that a lot of people don't know when it comes to weed. And, you say what brought you into the legalization space, or some of the questions that we're asking is like, what's your relationship with weed? Weed's been a part of my life ever since I could remember. My uncle has been smoking weed. One of my, they're dead now, but one of my uncles smoked weed, and well, not from weed. I mean, he's dead from something else, of course. But the first time I ever took a hit and obviously got high, I was 5 years old. I remember it right now. Like I'm sitting there right now. I was visiting my aunt for the summer in the trailer that she lived in. And her best friend had a son who was 7, and we were playing together, and like her best friend smoked. And the old cigar box, right? That's where they kept everything. and we were just running around. My aunt was gone shopping or something for the day, so I was over playing with him, and we were sitting down talking to his mom, and she started rolling a joint. I was born in 72, so this would have been 77, the summer of 77. And she started rolling a joint, and she's just talking to us, probably like we are talking to each other about the world and everything's crashing down on us, and you guys just don't understand. And she starts smoking, and she just passes it to us, come on here. And I took one hit, and I remember my head go whoop, whoop. And I was like, whoa, man. And I'm not saying this is good, right? I was obviously around bad adults, but I remember being high, my mother and grandmother coming to visit, or not visit, but they were running around. Like I was staying with my aunt, but they happened to stop by, and I don't know why they stopped by. And I just got on my bike and I rode away. I was like, oh my God, I was paranoid. The second time, I was 6 years old, and I was sitting on that uncle's girlfriend's lap in their pickup truck, and she gave me a shotgun, a little bit less of a, but my mom was sitting right there. Like I was sitting on my mom's lap. We were all three sitting in the front of the pickup truck, and they were smoking a joint because they always smoked. Like I said, it was like smoking cigarette. They always got high. They smoked in front of everybody. It was no big deal. It was just no big deal. Pot was no huge deal in our family. I mean, yeah, not everybody did it, but nobody like frowned upon it or anything. Like we all knew this person did it, whatever. And, so I had a very young relationship, and then I got into alcohol at 8. Was the first time I drank alcohol. And then I had a very bad relationship with alcohol for a long, 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 long time. But I never had a bad relationship with pot. As a matter of fact, I've been 16 years free from drinking, and it caused a lot of fucking problems in my life. And I've been part of the recovery community for 20 years. And I started realizing through a cleared mind from alcohol that pot never did anything bad to me. It was amazing. And when you go into recovery, they start making you itemize all the shit that you went through. When was the first time you drank? So the story I just told you goes into that fucking, journal. And when did you start drinking? I remember the first time I was 8, my uncle had champagne. One of my other uncles, turned up the bottle, got drunk, puked in the toilet. I remember it. And then the whole road of all that. But then I realized I never got in any legal trouble because they ask all those questions, I never went and stole anything to buy pot. Like it was always part of my life. I smoked it every day in, high school and stuff like that for a long time, but it never led to anything like negative fights. Never gotten any bar fights just because I was high. I always, and that saying comes around that I didn't get in trouble every time I was drinking, but every time I had gotten in trouble, I had been drinking. Right. And I realized that I didn't have that same thing happen with pot. And then I started seeing other people in the recovery community dealing with other really hard drugs, meth, opioids, getting off of those drugs and using pot as, like their medication. Right. And it was successful. They're happy. They go to work. They smoke a little pot, and they don't do the other thing that was killing them. So I'm like sitting here thinking, because in recovery, they tell you a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. And I'm like starting to sit here and analyze this from a much broader perspective in my own experiences and everybody else's around me. And I'm saying, I don't think that's true. I think you're picking on pot. It's just not true because I don't see it as a gateway. And as a matter of fact, I have a theory on that. The reason it's a gateway is because what kind of element do you have to go to get it? Who also has, other things. And sometimes, and this has happened to me, they're out of pot, but they have some coke or they have some meth or they have something else. And you're like, oh, I want to get high. And then you end up doing that and you go on a string of getting addicted to something or whatever it could be. If you had a safe place to go get what you wanted, you wouldn't be forced to deal with, shady characters who may be running out or might be pushing something else on you because they want to make money, right? Anyway, it brings me to Minnesota in 1999. And, this is where I got sober, of course, from drinking. And this is where that's all happened. But it's been illegal here. We've a few years, I can't remember when they did it. They legalized medical marijuana. And you got to jump through a bunch of hoops. It's over the last couple of years, I guess it's gotten easier. Like like in California, you just go, my elbow hurts. And the guy's like, here's a card. I mean, that's what you had to do in California when they legalized it. It was ridiculous. But here, you got to go and you got to pay some money and you can get your card. And this stuff's expensive. It's not as accessible. But finally, if you bring up that article, that's the article just talks about the latest that's happened with legislation this year. And right now, on a political note, our state government has got the trifecta. Our governor and both houses are run by Democrats in, the DFL. And we have a really mixed bag of Democrats here. We have people who really, they're like, they kind of meet the progressive thing, but they're still very party centric because it's just embedded in the mindset. However, I can't fault them if they're actually going to do this because it's overdue. One of the things I guess we could look at, it's going through these committees. Basically, all the article's talking about is it's going through these committees. One of the things that is interesting, if you go under the video where it says Governor Tim Walz D, that under the video, a few paragraphs, he's asking for proposed funding to implement marijuana legalization, expungements, and predictions about the millions of dollars in cannabis tax revenue in his office. And let's see, he's calling for a tax rate on marijuana sales that's nearly double that of the bill that's advancing in legislature. So he's calling for more taxes to be used, double. And I don't necessarily know, like from a budget and economic standpoint, what the purpose of that is and how effective that's going to be. And I certainly hope that it's not something that, they throw in, that he pushes to a point where it holds things up. Because how these guys do. They always seem to find a way to mess up what's right there on the tip of your tongue, so to speak, of being passed. And so that's kind of where we're at in Minnesota. And if this passes, supposedly it should be like the utopias that all of you guys are talking about. I'm surrounded by it. I mean, Illinois, I think Wisconsin even, not Iowa, but I think one of the Dakotas. It's just, it's where we've talked about traveling to go get, some or whatever, the sun smokes and stuff, but making the trip and going to a strange place and paying top dollar or whatever, and it just never appeals to us. And
so, Johnny, let me just ask you: you're in Minnesota. In New York, where I was before we legalized it, you'd find the guy on the street, you'd buy it. Don't you have that over there?
Well, it depends on where you're at. I mean, it was walking down Main Street. Hey, man. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid in San Francisco, I'm sure you could do it in certain places of a bigger city. That was, one of the things that again, I got introduced to crack accidentally because I was trying to buy a 10 bag of weed from a guy walking on Market Street. Just walking down you walk down the street. We used to go there at lunch and you just do the head nod and, mota, and, you get whatever you want and do the quick hand exchange. But that's not really something you see so much in the Midwest. I mean, usually that's kind of stuff, most people are just doing it through referral, I suppose you would say. People know
yeah, you end up with a phone number because somebody else knows the
Snapchat or something more less invasive.
It's actually easier than you think. You just have to use your stoner.
Yeah.
We find it. We always do.
Once you know the community, so to speak, I mean, anywhere I went, which was odd, anywhere I went when I was a kid, I moved around and went to many different schools growing up, and everywhere I went, it's like I had a big, on my forehead, you smoke pot, don't you? People would just pick, hey man, you smoke pot? Like they would ask me. And then so, I mean, you kind of have to gauge them and say, is this guy trying to get me in trouble or is he just wanting to get high with me? And usually it was always, they just wanted to get high with you, right? You're a new kid. They wanted, hey man, you smoke? And so I always found it at every new school I went to. It wasn't hard. I mean, of course you knew the stoner kids, but I wasn't really a stoner. Like I wasn't the long hair, headbanger stoner guy. No, I was just like I am now, and nobody really expected that. A lot of people didn't expect I smoked, because I was just like this. I was just a regular guy.
Now I'm just going to ask you. So you said in that 2020 election, the Weed Party candidate in your district got the 20,000 votes. Do you think that they would be able to that's going to make a difference in pressuring for this bill because the Democrats know that?
I think that's what happened. They lost enough races locally, and they're getting pressure, and because they even asked, they pressured one of the candidates for a state seat in 2022 that I know to get out, and he was running unopposed against a Republican, and they brought somebody in to run to throw a wrench in the whole damn thing, and he ended up losing. So they know that people wanted this for a long time, and it's ridiculous. The Democrats, the conservative Democrats, Minnesota is kind of like the whole Congress. It reflects, it's kind of almost like the same makeup, because you have these conservative blue dog Democrats that hold on to these kind of old traditional values, and they need more research. I'm not shitting you. That's the excuse that they use. They need more research. And I'm like, dude, 45 years here of research. Let's talk about it. Like, what do you need to know? I mean, it's ridiculous. So I do think that by having those parties encroach, it's forcing their hand with policy. The only problem is, right, for us, many of us sitting here, that's a double-edged sword because they're going to get credit for doing something good that's been pressured from an outside source. That outside source is then going to lose its momentum because nobody's going to give them credit for what we just talked about. The Democrats are going to get the credit, and that machine continues to get reinforced.
Now, what do you say to people out there who say that using third parties to pressure major parties never works? Because I've heard that, well, they're not going to win and we're not going to be able to pressure anybody, so why should we bother voting for them?
Okay, well, here's the thing. The Democrats lost the congressional seat to the Republican. So that person got that seat, and he's a Trumpster. He's a mega Trumpster. He's not just a Republican or conservative, which, look, I can make the distinguishment between somebody who isn't in that mindset and has conservative traditional values, whatever, and is, believes certain ways, but doesn't have that cultist thinking. He's right in there with them. And so that's even a bigger loss. The problem isn't the third parties pressuring to try to get policy. The problem is the election and voting method that allows a spoiler effect through a plurality. Because if we had ranked choice or star voting, I'm a proponent for, yes. But a method that brought out an instant runoff of some sort, then who knows? Enough people. Maybe these conservatives who believe, maybe like some of the people in Idaho that might be a little bit more conservative, but no, honestly, that they're a little bit more conservative, but they're like, hey, when it comes to pot, like it's enough. Let's go. And there might be farmers and people around here who vote Republican, but when it comes to something like pot, they're like, oh, let's just let this go, So
you got the single issue voters, they'll vote the party line, but they really, really wish the party would just friggin' lighten up and pull a stick out of their ass, long enough to get certain things out of the way so we're not stressing over it.
And we don't have ballot initiatives in Minnesota. That's
Right.
one of the things that, we are lacking. Everything has to go through Congress and has to be change to the Constitution, you know, on certain things or whatever, you know. So either it has to be a bill passed, or if you want to bring, I looked it up and it's real confusing. If you want something, you know, you have to get signatures and then have it presented to the legislation for them to craft a bill to bring it up and blah, 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 blah. But it's still not a ballot initiative of any sort where you get to publicly vote on it.
Absolutely. And we haven't heard anything from Brandy yet. So, Brandy, what's going on in Arkansas? What
So
brought
in-
you to the legalization space? And yeah, go. Sorry.
You're fine. I started smoking at 15. A lot of my relatives smoked, including my friends and their parents. Heck, we had a lot of our teachers smoked. It was a retired hippie town. We had off campus at lunch, so we'd go, it was 10th grade and up. We'd go to lunch, get high, come back to school. That was how I lived my senior year, junior and senior year. But no, I quit when I had kids. I quit smoking completely because of the legality of it and being afraid of losing my kids, having my kids taken from me. Well, in 2007, after what I went through with the twins, I have battled chronic pain and had multiple diagnoses of fibromyalgia, chronic inflammation disease, IBS. We're still going through test after test after test and specialist after specialist after specialist, and I have migraines. So I got my medical card after they legalized it for medical use through a ballot initiative in the state of Arkansas, and they actually did it as a constitutional amendment. Now, there was a list of conditions, but my doctor was one of those that got on there to be able to do them, so I didn't have to switch to a different doctor just to get the medical card. And so I use that, and I use it for chronic pain and to help me sleep and with my headaches and migraines. So last year in 2022, they tried to do a recreational bill through the ballot initiative, and it failed. Well, it was actually a giveaway because with the way it is set up through medical, it's all through industry. You can't grow your own. And so when they tried to do the recreational bill, they were going to send it through the same industries to where you had to go buy it from one of these shops like what I have to do now. But they were going to give a percentage of the profit, of the tax profit off of it to the police. And so between the very conservative Christian right wing, and then those of us who are, we consider ourselves abolitionists that live here in Arkansas, between both of us voting against it, it failed. A lot of the abolitionists voted against it just for the pure fact that it gives money to cops. And so this year, one of our Republican senators has gotten smart. And it's simple. If you scroll down, let me find it, to right there, the bill SJR 13, and click on it, it's one page. That's it.
Wow.
And it'll allow us to grow it for use and craft. Which is what we need. We do need, I mean, they've made, with the industry over here, they've made it so expensive. It's hard to afford anything. And then with my heart problems, I can't smoke, so I have to use edibles. It'd be much easier if I could grow it and then concentrate it into butters and things like that and be able to make my own. So that's what we're hoping for. This is what I'm going to be pushing for with the, more than anything, with the election in 2024. This is going to be my main push.
That's awesome. Good for you. I like that. We've got one more from Yona. I believe Yona has one for his state, Kentucky.
What's going on
That's
in
right.
Kentucky? What's going?
Well, back on March the 16th, the Senate passed the bill for medical marijuana in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And then on the 31st of March, Governor Bashir's son, who's now governor, Andy Bashir, you got to love nepotism, he signed it into law, and it actually goes into effect. I want to say it's on January the 1st, 2025, because they always drag their feet, Shane. You know how they do.
Yeah.
Whereas in West Virginia got their medical marijuana in 2017. Ohio got it in 2016. None of the three states here in the Huntington area have recreational. But Kentucky is just the very, very latest state in our great union to get medical marijuana. But now they get to drag their feet for a year and a half because, you know, it's so hard to figure out, you know, all these things that 35 other states have already done, but whatever.
Yep, that's exactly what
figuring out how to corner the market. That's really what it boils down to, because we know
Exactly.
we still know that 83% of the people who are making the money on the, you know, legalization of cannabis are the same demographic, old white men, right? It's definitely not the people who've been negatively impacted by, you know, the criminalization of cannabis. So that's still a huge problem as we talk about how wonderful it is that it's being legalized. Is behind the scenes, there are people using the capitalist model to manipulate the resources. And yes, it's great. It's legal for us to grow our own and things like that. But there's still going to be a market out there that's being dominated, and a black market that's trying to offset that because they don't want to pay the legal fees and all that other stuff that's being regulated. There's going to be some.
You know, I must say, I just find it. I do find it very ironic in the sense that, you know, hemp and cannabis were main cash crops of Virginia colony and Kentucky by extension, as well as North Carolina and Tennessee, going back to the colonial period. And the fact that marijuana is still a federally scheduled controlled substance of the highest order is just, I mean, we know why it was made illegal. And of course, there's so much revenue that's derived from it. But
why don't you recap on that for the audience?
About the market manipulation, you know, where they don't, you know, without allowing people to grow it themselves, because it really is about medicine to me. For example, you know, Pfizer and other companies, I could call drug dealers myself. And they literally get to mandate their drugs to you, whereas other people are criminalized for growing a freaking plant. That's been proven, at least by our tribe, the Cherokee, to be a highly effective medicine for literally thousands upon thousands of years. So, whatever, man.
Yeah, and
I do have a funny 420 bomb story for you when you're ready, Shane. A super duper 420 story for you.
Absolutely. So, Jimmy, why don't you tell us about the paradise that is California?
Well, you know, it is legal out here, like recreationally. Still, obviously, you know, it's not federally legal, but statewide it's legal. But we still get crackdowns. I just showed on my video on my show this morning how the police are cracking down and raiding and closing down shops, which is kind of like what you guys were just saying. It's these little shops that keep getting raided. These little what you would call mom and pop weed shops are actually getting raided. But you have in downtown LA, you have this humongous building that's painted in Cookies special blue color, like this brand Cookies, their special blue color. This whole building is this gorgeous color blue, and it says cookies right on the front of the building in giant words, and they never get touched. Nobody ever bothers them because there's celebrities and famous people that have invested in this company, especially like Snoop Dogg and stuff. Like, I'm not belittling them, but it just sucks to see that they're still raiding these small little areas while these big ones are getting away with all of it. But as a customer, shit, I feel like a spoiled brat. I can have pretty much whatever I want, whenever I want. Doesn't even matter.
We're over here in New York and New Jersey, you know, still consider myself a New Yorker, rolling our shit with dollar bills while you're getting pre-rolled shit.
That's right. That's right.
And I
Pre-rolled
left
shit,
California in
dripped
93.
in wax with keef rolled all over on top of it. It's so
We can
beautiful.
get some of that pre-rolled too.
Yeah, it's
Here.
so pretty.
We roll with our dollar bills.
Yeah, we still work for our weed over here. You're over there at your Dunkin' Donuts of weed.
That's
You
right.
put the sprinkles on it, put a little icing on there, and we're over here just like,
Yep.
Yeah,
I am
we
kind of
put the
jealous though that
vapes
New
and
Jersey is getting like a weed coffee shop because a few years back here in the mountain, there was a guy that was wanting to turn his coffee shop into a weed coffee shop. And I was thinking, well, we're unincorporated. It's not a big deal. I mean, they literally have like on like 4th of July weekends, they'll have like beer stands on the main street out here and people can just be walking around on the streets getting drunk and it doesn't even matter. So I was like, of course a coffee shop shouldn't be a big deal. So I would go to this guy's coffee shop all the time. You know, we would talk politics, I would go down to City Hall just to be able to get my word in about, you know, how they would feel about something like that. And it finally got to a point like Chamber of Commerce was fighting us tooth and nail. They did not want us to have one at all whatsoever. And then one day I was going to go in and fight the Chamber of Commerce with him. I went to his shop and he's all, give me a minute. And he goes back behind the shop for like 30 minutes or so. And I'm sitting out there just drinking my coffee, just waiting for him to come back out. And he comes back out with the fucking one of the mountain church's pastors and says, sorry, there's nothing I can do. I sold it to the church. And now it's a fucking church coffee shop. And I hate that place so much. I feel so defeated. Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff that we have to deal with even in California. Like the church wins everything. Like they're wanting to tear down
They probably
actual
threatened to
land
run
to
him
build
out.
churches.
They probably threatened to run him out if he
didn't sell.
If he fought and just kill his business, nobody will drink your coffee anymore. You know, you'll go under, or sell us and we'll, you know, I mean, that's the way people do people. I mean, you see it in the movies, but it's actually based on real life. I mean, people get these ideas because they experience them in real life.
Yeah.
So before we go to Yona's story, let's jump back to Chicago.
You know, a major issue has erupted legally. I was just going to mention before you leave California, a major issue has erupted in the courts because when it comes to legal state licensed businesses, like for example in California, they're licensed by Sacramento, sales and growing and everything. When they go to do banking, because of federal banking laws, they're not allowed to use the banks in a normal way. So they literally have to get Brinks trucks to come to the dispensaries and take away literally boatloads of cash. Well, for example, in Los Angeles County, or no, it was San Bernardino County. San Bernardino County deputies tailed behind a Brinks truck going by dispensary after dispensary. And after it hit the last dispensary, they then pulled it over and did an asset forfeiture of a freaking Brinks truck and seized the money as drug money under federal law. And that's been dragging through the courts, and that's a big freaking deal. Because normally, if an armed party robs a Brinks truck, that's felony theft. But if they're highwaymen and it's highway robbery and they're the police, I mean, that's where the whole phrase comes from, right, Joe? Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
So I want to jump back to Chicago where we apparently have a cannabis strike. Can we get that shared on screen real quick?
Yes, let me pull it up. Give me just 1 second. Go ahead and start talking about it.
Ed, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Okay. In the Chicago area, I just wanted to point out how I understand how other states are still struggling with legalizing and dealing with the legal hurdles for that. Some states only have. We've got recreational cannabis here in Illinois, and so they're slowly starting to normalize situations, and you can tell by situations like this. We've got union workers working in marijuana dispensaries. The workers for the Rise marijuana set of dispensaries is connected to Teamsters Local 777, and they're on strike right now for unfair labor practices. So while obviously we've got a long way to go, and we still have to deal with the different dispensaries having to decide whether the feds like them or not, or whether they're able to get proper funding for them, depending on which banks are willing to lend.
Now think about this. Let's say a dispensary becomes very worker friendly, and the feds decide they don't like that dispensary. You could see how that could become a problem, right?
Yeah. So it's like the places that maybe favor non-union labor might be getting preferential treatment, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then
that
ones who bend the knee to, or not bend the knee, but actually favor their workers and say, okay, we're going to treat you right, and we're going to, whatever, a co-op or something like that. They might be the target of the agencies more so because they're not playing ball. Maybe they're not giving kickbacks. Who knows? It's a dirty kind of society that we live in. I wouldn't put anything past, any kind of corruption past anybody in this country at this point.
Yeah. The question I wanted to ask is there going to be at a certain level where a number of states have basically ratified recreational marijuana? What's the number that will make it legal for all states? Is it 2/3 of the states?
Technically, it's 34. If that were to be that's the process for doing an amendment to ratify something is 34 out of the 50.
But that's one of the things about the way they did this is they didn't do the amendment like they did with alcohol prohibition. They literally slid it in under some other federalized.
It wasn't a constitutional amendment
it wasn't
they did for pot. It was just a law. It's just a federal law.
So they literally got to walk everything backwards. The way they made everything illegal, they have to turn around and legalize it again. So there is no center of mass where it's just automatically legal, in every state in the union.
Wait, Joe. I don't know that that's true, because there is one step that the president can do that we all know about, which is it's in his authority to remove it from the DEA's controlled substance list, which automatically removes it from federal enforcement.
That would decriminalize it.
Decriminalize, right? Not legalize, but that's a step toward legalization, because then the states are free from all this stuff you guys were talking about with the banking and all that other stuff. Now you don't have the feds coming after these dispensaries for some odd reason, because it's not criminalized federally. So now the states are free to legalize it if they so want. And then if it's so many states, then, you know what I'm saying? Then there's no.
But that's the trick of the thing, because California was one of the first to actually make drugs illegal. They made opium illegal simply because in San Francisco, because of the Chinese workers that were coming over and bringing the stuff. Mm-hmm. Idaho, 1927, we made marijuana illegal. 1927,
the yellow
we made it illegal because the beet field workers were using it, in order to manage pain management and be able to work throughout the day. We made it illegal for purely racist reasons. We made it illegal because the lower class workers, were out in the field using it, and then they bring it into town with them. So we jumped through all sorts of hoops, but that's the same problem with working it in reverse. There is no critical mass. It will be illegal in states until the state decides to legalize it or decriminalize it. And that's one of the problems that this Supreme Court in particular is that we're dealing with, is because they're not playing nice with the Commerce Clause on this. They're literally doing everything with the Commerce Clause in order to make it as difficult as possible for we, the people, to make these decisions, enact what it is we need for whatever reason we need to. It'll be illegal in the state of Idaho right up until the last. The best we can hope for in some cases is medical regulation. We're going to see that, and that's simply the inverse of what happened. San Francisco.
What are the chances that President Poopy Pants and this current sitting seat, what are the chances that they would actually take marijuana off of the Schedule 1?
Very, very
Zero.
Substances
Very
Act. What do you think,
slim.
Nate?
I said very slim. I mean, there'd have to be a reason for them to do it, and it wouldn't be for the
Well,
and
yeah.
They already promised it. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
they
they lie.
freaking already promised it in the last election, man. That was one of the main things that Kamala Harris sat there and said that we're going to do this, and this is a promise that we're making, and they haven't touched it for a whole election cycle. They should have touched it before 2020 to get
Johnny,
elected.
they also promised $2,000 check.
Right. So I mean,
yes.
There's a whole bunch of
Where's
shit.
my
I don't have any
$2,000?
They
faith
promised
in
us a
them
lot of
doing
Jack
shit.
Biden.
Really quickly, what I want to do is there are some faces that the KRTD audience, have seen before or may not recognize, So I want to give those three. We have three, additional shows here, the chance to kind of tell people about what they're doing on their shows and introduce themselves to our audience, or reintroduce themselves, I guess, in Warren's case, because I think you've been on Watt a couple times, so they know you. But let's go ahead, Brandy. Why don't you tell them about your show?
Well, I've been covering some of the geopolitics, and now I'm breaking off on my own, about to start my own YouTube stream, and I'll probably cover both state, local, national, and geopolitics. I mean, there's so much to cover.
Absolutely. Ed?
I'm Ed Heller. I am a deep dish pizza enthusiast. I have a website called realdeepdish.com. And I'm also the Tuesday night host of the channel Chicago Corner. We have a channel on YouTube if you want to follow Chicago Corner. We've got a website at chicagocornertv.com. We like to cover stories going on in Chicago, but we also like to give a Chicago perspective to stories happening nationally and around the world. And so it's nice to be able to give a perspective that maybe you're not going to see in mainstream media, based on stories that we hear about or things happening in the city and around the world.
Thank you. What about you, Mr. Presidential Candidate?
I have a name, Shane.
Okay.
It's Uncle Mundus.
I get more respect in the crack house. I really do.
That's right. The
Come on, let's talk about your show.
All right. Let's see if I can quit it. I gotta see if I can remember it. All right, so there's like 3 of these fuckers, right? So there's Extra Bulla on Mondays, which is kind of a conversation show with lucky suckers that I can find to get on the show. There's the Secret Show where we talk about like chocolate penises and stuff like that, some weird shit in the middle of the night with Jimi. And then there's Mundus Ultra on Sundays, where we talk about UFOs and Bigfoot and shit. And then I throw in some gaming every once in a while.
Which one's bong hits for tips? Which one's bong hits for tips?
That's what.
Bong hips for tips.
That's my show, yeah. But I think Warren's had some bong rips today, sounds like.
Tips. They don't tip you.
I can't find the way to point it correctly. What is going on? I'm like,
It's
you
the
have to point-
Lord's Day.
you have to
You
point in
told
the
me I
opposite
could smoke
direction,
on this
so-
show.
I'm lost.
Like I have to point to my right to be pointing to the left so that we're pointing at Uncle Warren.
I got very
Trying
scared
to
when
do
y'all
it
started
while
pointing.
you're-
I'm so
I think
messed.
everybody here is feds. Everybody's a fed. Fed.
You went the Fed route.
Excuse me, sir. I am a narc, not a fed.
It's
Excuse
been
me,
a whack,
sir.
whack a
I'm kidding.
fed.
Sir.
Excuse me, sir. I am a birding person. Okay.
This is the
And-
Lord's day.
Well,
Yeah.
We
I'm-
don't like
I'm-
radium here.
I'm a pizza fed. I'm a pizza fed. There you go. Pizza fed.
I had pizza today too. How many people had pizza today? That's hilarious.
I can't eat.
I had
pizza.
half a leftover calzone. Does that count?
Ed,
Yeah.
come on. You didn't have
Kinda.
any pizza, Ed? Come on.
Kinda.
I had
Yeah.
pizza yesterday.
Oh,
Why
nice.
can't you have
Okay.
pizza today?
Nice.
I
don't
drank
know
the
that
Oh,
Cheers
Shane, breaking
For
news.
Brandy.
There's this show that comes on Friday nights. I have to
Mhm.
introduce since I'm on here. There's
Go
this
ahead.
show that comes on Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time called The Peasants Podcast with yours truly, Hi Yona with the lower cast, where it's filled with all types of weeds and smoking and music's playing and more journalism. I've hooked up with Richard Grove and Tony Myers over at the Grand Theft World Autonomy Network there, and doing writing and stuff. And I still need to get back. I've got like 3 different Yona history rhymes on my WordPress that I need to get over to KRTD. I've been working myself to death and got all kinds of kids and stuff, and so it's really overwhelming. Just living day to day, but that's why I at least try to keep up with the Peasants Podcast to give the perspective of what I think. I think the majority of Americans are, kind of slogging it through and living paycheck to paycheck or month to month, and it's harder and harder to save wealth. It's going to be even harder if there's no cash and you have, digital money that's going to expire if you don't spend it fast enough. How are you supposed to ever save wealth? But anyway, that's all.
I think
Can
we're
I
a little way
interject?
from that. It's probably not going to happen in the next year or so. Probably got about 3 or 4 years before that happens.
I was going to tell Jimmy earlier
Mhm.
that in the syrup, they make a French vanilla that you can mix with coffee as well.
I don't do I don't do any vanilla.
Ah.
Warren
You don't
knows.
like vanilla? I like vanilla.
Should I say it? Okay. So if you look up French or vanilla extract, they say, now I'm not for sure if it's real or not, but I believe it is, so I just say it is.
Beaver
They-
glands. Yeah.
Yes.
Beaver
Yeah.
glands.
Yeah. So I won't touch it.
What?
That's
Oh.
so
But
gross.
That's not
you
real.
can get actually natural vanilla. You don't have to get the vanilla from the glands of a beaver's ass.
I'm
That's
a
not-
regular shopper though, so I just get, if I get vanilla, I'm just gonna grab whatever's cheapest at the store, and I'm
Well,
not
then,
gonna
there you
chance
go. So
it.
stay away from vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. I don't touch vanilla.
Is that what the
I tell you,
artificial
Uncle,
vanilla's
don't
made
knock
from?
it, buddy.
Yeah.
Tain't nothing like artificial vanilla.
So, we've covered most of the questions except for what's everybody's favorite strain?
Oh, well, really quick, actually, hold on, wait, Brandy, is this the kind that you have? Because of course you're gonna do it. So this is the cherry limeade one that I have.
This
Okay, so
one's-
it's close.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same brand, but you
I
got
have
the
a
syrup too.
smaller bottle.
Wow.
Okay, that makes sense.
Wow.
So yeah, I've got the same thing. It's just I've got like a lot of it, but I think I'm gonna get a Sprite and probably try it out because I still have some left. So
See,
Yeah,
you
that's
can
how
just
I like
drink that,
mine.
Just take a swig of that. And just...
I can't. It literally tastes like straight up Robitussin when it's by itself. It's
So, anybody drink Robitussin? What's wrong with a good old swig of Robitussin?
that is the worst. Plus, I have to take like 150 milligrams just to taste anything, and that's a lot.
Robitussin stops the cussing and the fussing, right?
I bet that
That's
mixes
weed.
really well with the Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah.
Hello, what?
Ooh, put some alcohol in there too. No, you'd fuck yourself up.
need to be careful going down this road, Uncle, because
Yeah.
you know, best way to chill out a kid is whiskey on the gums. Take care of that teething.
That's
Right.
what happened with us. Dad, the old man did that. He put the whiskey on the gums when we were teething. That's OG, man. That's when I got my first
They
taste.
always
of
thought it
devil's
numbed the
strong
gums, but what
whiskey.
it was doing was getting you all toasted. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
right.
Here's the happy babies.
Dad juicing up those with double-A batteries. Ancient age, buddy.
All right, go ahead, Shane.
Oh,
Ask
yeah.
your question.
Favorite
All right, so
strain?
does everybody have a favorite strain, or do you just want to have whatever's on the table?
Oh, there's a
Go
favorite
with
for me,
what
and I always make sure to have it on 420, and that would be Gorilla Glue. Anyway,
Gorilla Glue, nice.
Everybody
All right,
here's
go ahead,
talking
Brandy.
about their favorite strain. You're out there and about. You're able to go into the dispensary, pick your choice. Look at the colors. Look at the way they sparkle under the light. Little incandescence, all pretty and shiny. Here in Idaho, it's weed.
Yeah.
What kind
Yeah.
of weed is it? It's weed.
You got any
Deal with
weed? Yeah, I got weed. What kind of weed? I got this kind of weed. I got green weed. Take the weed or don't take the weed.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Here's my favorite strain.
Ooh, really?
Wow. Wow.
That reminds me of high school.
Hey Ed, marinara legal.
Legalize
I think it really
marinara.
depends on your mood and what kind of high you want, because the strain is typically going to reflect whether it's sativa or indica. And a lot of people, I think my age, are into the indica because it's the in the couch, it's the relaxed, it's the high, it's the head high. You want to feel high, and the indica is more, you're going to go out to the park and you want to be high and you want to have your senses about you still or something, taking your dog to the park or something, and you don't necessarily, or maybe going to work, sorry folks, people get high when they go to work, just deal with it.
So,
And you want to have your mind about you. You don't want to be all and you want to be high though, so you might do some sativa, but it just depends on the mood, maybe time of day, what you're getting ready to do afterwards. Some people mix it up. Some people smoke sativa in the morning and smoke indica in the evening.
Agreed.
so I just got to tell a quick story because I'm not high a lot. I like to get high.
I like to think that when it's like my brain is on 8.
Yeah. So I like to get high, but I drink
go ahead.
more than I drink more than I smoke. Sorry, I'm the opposite of Johnny. I drink and I really don't smoke. So, but when I do smoke, the last time I smoked, the third to last time I smoked, I was in a fucking playground at 2 a.m. with my best friend, and I had like 5 puffs, and I'm like, I don't feel anything. And
Right.
and then suddenly we're fucking sliding down the slides, on the monkey bars, going down this way, and then I go, I'm hungry, and I want to go eat. So we fucking go to Popeyes, and I go into Popeyes, and I'm like trying to order off the KFC menu, and
What?
I'm like, why don't you know what I'm talking about? I want the thing with a lot of other things because I'm really hungry.
I want the original recipe. Sir, this is a Popeyes.
So, and
Sorry, sir, this is a Wendy's.
anyway, I end up with like fucking 30 pieces of fucking chicken, all different fucking pieces, fucking
Damn.
chicken
Hey,
tenders.
quit cussing so much. You're gonna get your channel knocked down.
Right. All kinds of sides. Anyway, I'm eating that. And as I'm eating, I'm telling my friend, I'm like, there's a really good Italian restaurant a bus ride away. And we should go head up to the Italian restaurant. He's like, aren't we eating right now? I'm like, we are eating right now.
But that's
But we
just
can
enough
also-
to get us over to
That's
the
now.
restaurant.
That's not later.
Right. So I'm like,
By the time we get to the restaurant, I'll be hungry.
So we get on the bus and we're on our way to the restaurant. And
That
then I'm
makes me
like,
think of the Blues Brothers when they go in and he orders 4 whole fried chickens and a Coke, and the other one orders the 2 pieces of toast, light toasted. Rest in peace, Jake and Elwood Blues. Anyways,
we get on the bus over to the restaurant, but I'm so high, I'm taking the bus on the wrong side of the street, going the other direction, and then I get off within 15 minutes. I'm like, "Where's the restaurant?" And I'm like, "Oh, I went on the wrong bus." And then I went back, and then I'm like, "Let's try this again." And then I got on a different bus. I can't remember the rest of it because I was so high. But at the end, I don't think I ended up getting my Italian food at the end of the day. I was very disappointed. But when I opened my wallet, when I sobered up, there was money missing. And then I saw a whole bunch of receipts for food from a corner store, for the Popeyes.
He was eating on his way home, stopping after he was done. It was just a little, it was like breadcrumbs, getting him from one store to the next.
So I had 7 receipts in my wallet instead of all my cash, and all the receipts were from different food places. Not all restaurants, only one restaurant, the Popeyes, because I could never find the next restaurant. But I had a whole bunch of receipts for different food.
I think the key thing here to recognize is that you kept your receipts.
Yeah.
Who the hell keeps their receipts for little food that they buy at a corner store, especially when they're stoned?
They're still in my old wallet. I used
Now, Shane, if you had been live streaming around the time where you had done this, you could have written those off as expenses and taken the taxes off when you filed your taxes.
Right. But anyway, I ended up spending. Who wants to guess how much I spent on food?
he's got the receipts, Ed. He still can.
Oh, that's
Who wants
true.
to take a guess? Who wants to
$100.
guess? How much?
$100.
More.
Oh, I'm going to say 300.
No.
$322.
$185, and that's my final offer, Paul Parker.
I just have this
Oh
great
my
visual
gosh.
in my head now, Shane. It's of you basically taking a bus with this big paper bucket of chicken, right? And then you get off the bus, and every stop you go and buy something else, and then you get back on the bus. But every time you're back on the bus, you've got the big paper bucket of chicken, and then every stop that you make, the chicken's in one arm, and you're just adding more things to there. You got your receipts in your pocket. You get home, there's still a bucket half full of chicken.
That's pretty accurate. And my friend hardly ate anything for some reason, but I kept eating.
Well, because your friend
That
was
was
probably
super-
used to
Yeah.
and being normal and just like grabbed a bite to eat. Because people who get high regularly don't do what you just did.
That's like extreme munchies there. That's
Yeah.
impressive, really.
I didn't even eat everything. I came
$324
home.
worth of chicken. That better be some good chicken.
I came home with
Bites.
7 bags of chips that I didn't eat. I just had bought them, and I didn't remember buying them. They were just in a grocery bag, and I bought them.
Well, sometimes
You wanted them.
those are emergency chips, just in case you run out of chicken between stops.
Right. Well, that's what they always say. Don't get stowed before you go to like
Well,
grocery
I
shopping and
couldn't
stuff. You
imagine.
know.
That's the worst thing
Yeah.
you can do.
Imagine.
Is be hungry.
I mean,
Jimmy,
this is a
Shane,
gateway.
going shopping
This
with
is a
God.
gateway
Jesus
to the
Christ, you'd have
munchies
everything
right
in
now.
the car.
But after that, I never got that high again because I thought that I wasn't high, and I'm like, this isn't working. I went, this weed doesn't work. It's defective. And then suddenly I'm sliding down the slide.
Yeah. you can't do that.
Where, $350 in food.
$322.
What is that? Like about 12,000 calories, 13,000 calories? I mean, it's not a light dining night.
I brought a lot of it home. I just ended up buying it. It wasn't even that I ate it.
This is not a Wendy's.
I just ended up buying
Okay,
it.
what
So, like, I
happened,
came
guys?
home
You
with
guys know
those-
this. Well, maybe Joe, you don't smoke, but here's what happened: is his brain said, I want. So every time he got to a place, he wanted something different. But by the time he had bought it, he was eating something else. His craving was actually full, but his brain kept kicking off in this ADD stoned manner of munchies saying, I want this. And you see something in the aisle and go, I need to have that. So he just grabs it because he goes, that would be really freaking good if I could eat that right now. But he's stuffing his face with half the shit he already has in the other hand. So he can't get to the other stuff he bought that his brain is telling him is really good if you can get to eating it.
Exactly.
I don't think you could have nailed that any better. So
You got it. You got it exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly
I'm
what it
like
is.
that with cheese.
Yeah. Johnny knows. Johnny knows. God gave you 2 hands so you can eat one hand.
I missed my money at the end of the night. That's all I'll say.
I got an eating problem, 2 hands and only 1 mouth.
So yeah, that was my maybe 3rd time getting high because I didn't get high a lot. I drank. So when I got high, it was weird for me.
Well, you should only take like a hit, like especially nowadays weed. I mean, if you don't smoke, a hit should be all you need. A lot of people, that's all they need after work. I mean, she's over there smoking a whole joint, but she smokes all day long. Right?
Well, that's different.
If she went to work 8 hours a day where she couldn't smoke, she couldn't even go on a break and smoke, she probably would come home and take a couple hits and be like, whoo, yeah. Because I know when I worked, and was gone, I could take a couple hits when I came home. And that was like enough for like the rest of the night, man. I was like,
what
wow,
happened
this
was
is a cheap high. I love it.
I took a hit. And then I said, this doesn't work. So I took another hit.
Right.
And
well,
I said it didn't
was
work.
Your inexperience is that you thought, I had a friend that did that with acid. She thought that after she took a hit that it wasn't doing nothing. And so she had to have another one. And I said, you got to give it some time. And she's, no, it's not doing anything. And then she ended up taking like 4 hits. And by the time it finally caught up to her, she was out of, I mean, not dangerously out of it, but she went to her house to get something, and she came back with a movie of Dory. Like she, it was like something stupid like that. Like she totally got lost in her brain. And what was funny is she was just like Dory, real scattered and everything. And then we just started laughing about it. But no, I mean, I've seen people do that, especially young people. My kids' friends and stuff who were experimenting when they were younger. I'm not stupid. I was one of those parents that told my kid, don't hide the shit from me. I don't want you going around my back lying to me. I know what you're doing. I want to know what you're doing. And he came to me and asked me about doing Molly. And he came to me and asked me about doing other things. And I told him to stay away from Molly. I said, it's so mixed right now, has fentanyl, things like that. And he didn't do any, so by building that trust and relationship with him, I was able to help him, stick in like the weed lane and not drink and not do other drugs that could be more harmful to him.
Right.
That's
exactly.
one of the things about the trust thing. Remember in the 80s, we went through the whole DARE. This is your brain on drugs, and they were selling marijuana as this, path to the end of the world and evil. And it's like there was an entire generation who remembers smoking the stuff in school. We're going
right. My uncle, people on lunch, exactly.
Yeah.
There's
what kind of BS you trying to feed me, man?
It was a whole new
if
era
I can't
of
trust you about this, if I can't trust, what can I trust you about, man?
Yeah.
I thought it was devil weed in junior college when it was 89, right? So I was still scared by Nancy Reagan, and a buddy of mine had a joint. It was the first time I'd ever been it was first contact with weed, right? And I said, no, I can't smoke that. That's evil. That'll do bad things. But then like 4 years later, I tried it with some buddies at a TV station I was working at, and I was like, "Oh, you're an angel instead. You're not the devil." So, yeah. It's all about time and place and experience. And some people are allergic to it. I feel sorry for people who are allergic.
Right, yeah. No,
to
and my
THC.
thing with it is I don't notice that it takes a minute for shit to take its effect. Like, you know, the gummies. I don't know if anybody's done the gummies. Like,
That takes even longer. Yeah.
it does. So,
Yeah.
I was sitting in the park with some friends, and I bought some gummies from the weed truck in Manhattan, which we had brought over to the park. And I'm like, I take a bite. This isn't working. I take another bite. This still isn't working. I take
Ooh.
another bite, and suddenly I've eaten 2 whole gummies.
Oh boy.
And I'm like, this doesn't work. And then 15 minutes later, I'm running and I'm like acting all crazy. And, you know, my friend, he's like, I told you not to eat that whole thing. And I'm like, no, I told you that I was going to eat this whole thing. And
The stories like that are
Bad
absolutely.
Tuesday.
My mother at
Mhm.
65, living with my sister and her boyfriend. My sister and her boyfriend made some brownies. Let it sit on the kitchen counter to cool and chill. My mother grazes brownies. So every time she walked by, she'd grab a little chunk and take a bite. About half the pan down.
Oh no.
She's going, I'm dying. I'm dying. My heart's beating too fast. I'm dying.
Okay, I got a Thanksgiving story for you. I was living on my own my senior year. Well, one of my roommates kept me up all night the night before drinking, so I was having to make sure she behaved herself and didn't do anything to hurt herself. So I go over to my aunt and uncle's for Thanksgiving the next day, and we're sitting there eating turkey. And then my uncle breaks out a joint, and we start smoking. No sleep, the turkey, and the weed. I get up to go to the bathroom, my aunt and uncle's bathroom. Their washer and dryer's in there. I laid down on top of the washer and dryer and fell asleep. Finally, about 30 minutes later, they woke me up, and I'd not put my skirt back on. So I started to walk out of the bathroom with just my t-shirt and underwear because I was so stoned and tired.
oh my God.
That's
But I
great.
mean, look, how bad is that? Look, I've sat and listened to stories in meetings.
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
I
that's
mean,
not that bad.
exactly. When we talk some of these stories, you know, even Shane's story, what was the worst that came of his experience was he spent a little too much money on food that he either ate or he took home. So when we're talking about the negative effects of pot, really, like if he would have gotten drunk on the bus, he could have gotten hurt, fallen, stumbled over, done any number of things to hurt himself. Because alcohol by far has a
It's so
much
much worse.
worse negative impact on society. And this speaks from personal experience and what I've studied in school through psychology and social psychology and everything else. It's just worse.
Yeah.
The demographics for it, the statistics for it, far outweigh anything that pot could ever do to anybody. And none of the stories that any of us have told as far as like silly things that we've done or anything are really harmful. Has anybody gotten in a fight with people because you've been stoned? No. Imagine a bunch of a room full of stoned people in a bar having a disagreement. Like, it's not going far. You're not going to
5
see
minutes later, it's like,
hand
dude,
swinging.
I'm sorry,
you know?
man. I didn't mean to.
Fight
man.
all of you. Feisty.
So
I'm a
I just
feisty
think
stoner.
I wish our society it was reversed. If you imagine like people felt the way they feel about pot, about alcohol, and it was taboo. And pot was the thing that we had stores and everybody could go buy. And, you know, it was like, hey, man, you want to come over and have a barbecue and spark some Bud, you know, and that was just the regular Bud wasn't a drink, Budweiser. It was Bud, regular Bud. If we lived in a society like that, I just think we'd have a completely different outlook on everything, you know, as far as community and everything else.
So I got one more for you guys. So You all, so I don't know what you called it back in your day. That right now, when you drink and you smoke, we call it crossfaded. We call it getting crossfaded. I don't know what you guys used to call it,
Getting
but
fucked up.
Yeah.
right now we call it
Yeah.
crossfaded.
And you always
So-
smoke
Yeah.
before you drank.
Yeah, you smoke before you drink. You don't drink before you smoke.
So,
We just used to call it something you don't do. That's it.
So anyway, I'm sitting on my deck with a friend of mine, and we're smoking, we're drinking, and I'm having edibles also. So I'm smoking, drinking, edibles, just sucking around, and I think I had maybe 5 drinks, maybe 10
This guy is
puffs.
just like all
Yeah.
in all the time. Eats
Maybe-
everything, drinks everything.
Yeah. I
Maybe
bet when you
10
lay down and closed your eyes, you felt like you were on a roller coaster.
10 puffs, and I had an entire chocolate Trips Ahoy, I think they call it. The Trips Ahoy, I had the entire thing. So then we're just calling people on my phone, people we went to school with, and fucking around. And I'm like, I don't remember anything I said to them, but the only thing I remember is we're talking to this one girl from school who we went to school with. I called her. We were just hanging, she was there, but she wasn't because we were on a video call with her. So the only thing I remember, and she had to tell me this, is I just started throwing up. And I don't, but I threw up, and then I got up, and I'm like, and then I had a drink, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is alcohol, not water. And I'm like, that's not what I need right now because I just threw up as I'm gulping the bottle down. And then I'm like, let me run and get some water. And on my way to get water, I throw up again. Because I thought the alcohol was water because it was in a clear bottle. And I'm so hooked up. I don't know what I'm looking at.
Jesus. You could have canceled all that
just
workout,
listening
just
to
take
this
mushrooms and done the same thing.
Yeah.
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 Make it easy on yourself. Eat one
Yeah.
little bar and you'd be done for about 6 hours.
Yep.
So I collapsed, and not like collapsed, but like when I went to sleep, I did not wake up for 12 hours. And the next day at work was shit.
I bet.
Yeah.
This is one of those. This is why you don't drink and get crossfaded.
Yeah.
Without experience, man.
Well, not only that, I've never had a good experience with that either. I've fallen out of my friend's pickup. We'd be in the bar drinking, playing foosball, whatever. And hey man, let's go out, go out to his truck, spark up a big bowl. Of course, he's got the most dank shit in the world, right? And you've been drinking a few hours, and then open the door, boom, head just fell right out. I fell right on my face. I mean, that's because I've been drinking, and he gives me, you don't do that. You just don't. I was an adult. I was old enough. I wasn't even a kid. It's just stuff you don't do, like Jimmy said.
But I also, Johnny, I think you're right, because when I drink, I feel like I have less of my faculties than when I'm high, because I was at a wedding and I was drunk, and I was calling a taxi to come and pick, me and my family up. We were at the wedding, and I'm screaming at them. They're like, you want us to come out? No, I want you to come in 3.5 hours because I'm not ready yet. And they thought I was nuts.
Whoa.
And they never came to pick us up. I had to call them back and say, yeah, I'm ready for you guys now. They're like, oh, okay. I thought you were just prank calling us. And I almost didn't have a ride home that night because I lost all my faculties. But when I get high and it's just high, I feel like I have more of my faculties than when I'm drunk.
Well, the other thing is you don't really have a good comparison, Shane, if we may adult here a little bit, because, you got completely plastered from not really being ever high. And then, I hardly do it. And then you're like, I smoked a pound of weed and that's going to mess anybody up.
Yeah,
no, it is. But I feel
it's
like
going to make you lose your faculties and have a wet, buzzy. I puked on just smoking pot before when I was a kid. When I was 11, they gave me one of my uncle's friends came over with this brown and red shit from Mexico, and it looked like brown and red. It was but that shit, whoo! Well, they could only get through a half a joint. These were grown adults who smoked multiple joints a day. and 3 of them could only get through half a joint, and they were wasted. And so they let me have the leftovers. I'm sitting there playing Atari 5600. I smoke a few hits of that, and I've been eating cookies, those oatmeal cookie, the ones with the frosting on them. I've been eating them like crazy, and that got me so messed up. I had to run to the bathroom, and I was just puking up like oatmeal. Those cookies. So you can get it, if your system isn't set for it and what you've been eating or whatever, if you overdo it. And one of my kids' friends did the same thing. They gave him a huge, like 3-foot bong rip, and he hadn't been smoking, and he got paranoid, and I'm going to go home. I was, no, you're not going home. This is the last thing you need is to go home. Just shut the fuck up, sit down, and give us time. You'll be better. And then he never really wanted to touch it anymore after that. Why? Because his friends mistreated him and messed up his experience and didn't let him experience it on his own terms, and so you've done that to yourself.
I have, but I also feel like
don't eat both of those, and you're just like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. Pop them both in.
No, but the worst that pot has done to me is it's made me hungry and made me spend some money.
Right.
When it comes to drinking, I'm worried. I'm going through my phone after I've drank, because I don't drink a lot, but when I don't drink often, but when I drink, I drink. So when I finish drinking, I look at my phone. I'm like, did I call? Because I'm like, oh, great, I made phone calls. Did I call anybody important? Did I call any of these politicians I know? Who the fuck did I call?
I would suggest you don't drink if when you drink, you drink. Okay? No, I'm serious. Because I've been in this for a long time. And if you can't just go have a couple beers or a couple drinks, whatever it is you like to have, and all you do is slam.
Well, no. When I drink by myself, I'll have 2 drinks. When I drink with my friends, I'll have 6, 7 drinks.
But that doesn't make any sense, Shane. You're going out with your friends to have fun, and you get so freaking wasted that you can't even function. You turn your brain to mush. That makes
you guys are really telling this to a 22-year-old, expecting him to listen to you.
I know, but he's our friend. What am I supposed to do? We're mentors. What am I
Johnny,
supposed to do?
I remember.
You gotta let him
my
figure it out for himself.
20s,
it's the only
so
way.
I understand it.
But like, I can go 6 months without having. Like, I don't think I've had a drink in 4 months. I don't really.
It's a thing where you get so distracted by just being out and doing something that you're accidentally binge drinking, because you got to have a bottle in your hand and you just keep drinking it and you're not pacing yourself.
That's exactly right.
Once you realize that you're doing it, you find ways to break it up a little bit. You switch to water.
Switch to something else in
switch
between.
To a soft drink. Or just slow down, put the beer down for a little while. And if you communicate to some of the bartenders, they'll actually try and help you with that. You let them know you're trying to pace yourself.
Well, you do, and
start off with there is a saying. There is a saying though. The liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, you get even sicker. So if once you get to the bar, if you want to have a good time, have like 1 or 2 shots right when you get there. That way you've got that buzz going and you're hanging out with your friends. And then ask for a couple of beers after that and have some beers. That way you're not getting that super buzz anymore, but you're keeping it on a mellow. Now the opposite that's going to get you sick is like having a couple beers and then at the end of the night taking a couple shots. You're going to get yourself sick. You're going to throw up. You're not going to feel any better. So have those shots at first. Find a couple beers that you can enjoy. That way you've got your mellowness to keep you going throughout the night.
Resource management, Shane. Resource management. You got it.
The only thing, I don't get sick when I drink unless I get crossfaded.
You don't do that. That's bad. If you're going to do that, what you need to do is you need to smoke weed first and then drink, because the weed is going to stop you from drinking so much. If you drink first and then smoke, you're not going to know how much you're smoking. You're going to overdo it, and that's what's going to give you the zoomies. And you don't want any of that stuff. That's what you're the roller coaster ride with your eyes closed, throwing up. So smoke first if you're going to do it. Don't do it after you've already drank. That is the number one thing that's going to make you throw up.
And it's so funny that is
this is not a beer.
I can't hear you, Johnny. Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. Sorry.
The funny thing about that is it is indisputable. Everybody's head is going, yes. Right. We all know over years and years of practice we all know that that's the order of operation. You know, it's like math. Like you can't go the wrong way, or you have bad things happen. It doesn't compute.
Right.
This is one of these things that we actually need to talk about, because as we start seeing more and more legalization, more and more recreational access to a variety of drugs. You know, we're not just talking marijuana, you know, cannabis and beer. You know, we see people already talking about blends using cannabis beer, you know, THC or CBD content, you know, with
Already
the
out,
8% alcohol. You know, you're looking at people who actually create tinctures using 80%, you know, opiate and marijuana blend. So we're starting to see the return of these tinctures, these blends, these cocktails, drug cocktails. You're talking about your mix of liquor, your opium, your marijuana, and you know, all of these used to be cocaine. So old Methuselah's, you know, snake bite, you know, back in 1880, where it was literally this cocktail of stuff. You know, so how do you control it? How do you manage it? What are your expectations when you're looking at a drug cocktail and you're going, this is the blend that works for me? Or you're trying to say, well, how do I talk about integrate Molly into my regular routine? Do I want to handle the microdose, you know, the mushrooms, the things like, what are we doing? You know,
Right.
Well, I think it starts, Joe, with that open communication. Like I said, I'll brag about it. You know, what happened with my kid and everything, and the openness that we had between us. And, you know, like I said, he's going to be 23 in June, but, you know, he's smoked pretty much since he was 15, and I knew about it. And he had a pretty healthy relationship with other drugs. He told me when he tried other things like meth and coke and things like that. And I'm not going to stop him, just like I couldn't stop him from having sex. They'll find a bush, they'll find a room, they'll find under the stairs. They're going to do it. So best to be responsible and, you know, get birth control, get things, you know, condom, those types of things, right? You don't hide those discussions. So I think the key is having the discussions like we're having with Shane. It's a good example of saying, hey, don't drink and get wasted and then try to get high. You'll always get sick that way. It'll always be bad for you. Follow certain rules and get to know things. Like get if you're going to experiment with something, know that you have to walk into it like working out. You don't just go and start lifting the heaviest freaking weights, because you know the next day, if you've ever done that, you're going to be sore as hell for like 4 or 5 days to a week. You're not going to be able to touch your titties because you tried to bench it the max after never working out, right? So
and of course, one of the other things is always go into it with a good partner.
Yes, always having
never
somebody
get high with someone
buddy.
You know is gonna mess with you. Never.
A trip buddy, like in acid, they call it a trip buddy, and that's something if you're experimenting and, you know, if you want to get to know something, like get to know a drug, like say, Shane, you're saying, hey, you know what, maybe pot might help me in one way or another. People have talked about it and I'm interested in it, but I've had these experiences that have always gotten me all messed up. So how can I manage that where I'm not just doing that? And so you take control of that. And you say, okay, I'm just going to have a small dose and that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to see how it makes me feel. I don't care if I don't feel a certain way for half an hour or an hour. The whole test is how this one thing makes me feel or how that one thing makes me feel. And then I'm just going to wade that out. If it takes 6 hours until I feel normal again, then I'm just going to see. I don't need to feel wasted and then compare it to not being wasted. I need to see what my equilibrium is. And maybe because just like getting drunk, there's multiple stages of being drunk. There's the little buzz, or, you know, and then there's the giggly Johnny. Everybody's laughing. I love you. The slobbering drunk, right? There's different stages that your mind goes through with the different effects of drugs and the different levels. So the same thing will happen with any drug that you're doing. And you have to figure out what I know people who are so insane. They take little chocolate chunks of the psychedelics, the chocolate bars that are this big that you eat as like a whole hit and it gives you a trip. eat a little chocolate chunk of that every day. What the hell does that do for you? I want a trip. I want a trip. But I do know what it is because when I was a senior, I used to take a quarter head of acid every day for a period of time. You know, while I was doing, I had access to it. And that was like waking up. It was like coffee. I wasn't tripping every day because it builds up a half-life, you know, and I could take a half a hit, go to work, have a good time, felt good. And I wasn't like, you know, seeing monsters and shadows. If I wanted to really, really, really trip, I'd have to do 4 or 5 hits or something like that to really you know, have an experience. But yeah, I think just starting to learn how something affects you, or honestly, and I know this might sound harsh, if you're not going to take that kind of responsibility, I don't think you need to be fucking with it.
Well, here's, like I said, I can go 6. Don't think I've had any pot in 9 months. You know, I know that sounds crazy for you.
No, it's not crazy. What's going to happen though is when you go out with your friends, somebody's going to have some pot. You're going to do it again. You're going to have another bad experience because you're.
Well, now I have a rule. Well, I didn't tell you what happened after all those stories. Now I have a rule when I go out with my friends and I have pot. I only have 2 or 3 hits. I don't have 6 hits. I don't have 7 hits because when I have more than 3 hits, I end up spending all kinds of money on food and getting all fucked up. So I ended up saying 3 hits is my max, and I'll spread them out throughout the night. You know.
All right. Let's keep it going.
Can I make a suggestion for Shane though?
Yes,
when you know you're going to go out and you're going to take a couple hits, put a little Post-it note or a sticker on the inside of your wallet that just says no.
Yeah, no, that's
it just reminds you, look, dude, it's like you say, look, man, 1 taco, not 12, not a bucket of chicken. Whatever it takes to put it in the back of your head that like you open your wallet. No. Oh, that's right. I told myself not to do this again.
And then you'll remember this conversation, so it'll go through your head too, and you'll be like, oh yeah, all those guys told me this would happen, so I don't want to do it. And that will help you manage yourself. It actually is true.
Oh, absolutely. Exactly. So, yeah. And then, Yona, I know you had a story you wanted to share with us, and I know, Ed, you're about to leave us. Do you want to remind everybody where they can find you?
I'm running out of steam, but I'm glad I got to chime in on this conversation tonight and at least talk a little bit about munchies because you know that marijuana is a gateway to cheese fries. But everybody can find me.
Chicago pizza.
Yes, Chicago has 4 styles of pizza, if you didn't know. You can find out more information about that at realdeepdish.com, and it teaches you how to make those styles of pizza at home. You can also find me on Chicago Corner Tuesday nights at 7:30 p.m. Central. Follow and please subscribe to the Chicago Corner channel on YouTube, and check us out at chicagocornertv.com.
Okay.
Right on, brother.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Ed, and thanks for representing Chicago Corner and pizza.
Right. Here. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Ed.
We've all been telling our stories. Let's hear Yona's.
All right, say that again. What?
Well, wait, what?
You said you had a story.
Well, the story from Yona is here. Yes, the story is about the Geo Metro XFI hatchback. Long ago, in a time long ago in a galaxy far, far away in Dagobah County, Kentucky, at about 2 o'clock in the morning, under the light of the moon, there was the Yona with the long knife in hand, harvesting into the hefty bags. Big bushels of Idaho truck contents, right, Joe? Idaho truckers contents. Big bushels of wheat. Now, for those that don't know, the Geo Metro XFI hatchback is basically a clown car, right? But 53 miles to the gallon. So, you know, laugh at the little 12-inch wheels all you want. I mean, I might have to prime the fuel bulb 10 times to get it to start, but, you know, It's great on gas, 3-cylinder. So we finally get all of the stuff gathered there to make the voyage from planet Dagobah over to planet, we'll call it County Mary Jane. Anyways, it was on a far distant part of the galaxy known as Medlock's Creek. Anyways, so there we are. And we've got to get it from one place to another, and that's crossing 4 other counties. And it was illegal and still is. So this is in a fictional place, of course, Star Wars, Yoda type stuff. And so very, very nervous. But luckily, there's all these one-lane gravel roads where you have to ford the creeks and stuff. The funniest part was we went to ford one of the creeks. And mind you, we couldn't actually get the hatchback all the way closed. We had to take hay baling twine and pull it down. So I could only imagine if I'd gotten pulled over by the police, just run. Just run. You're done for, son. Yeah, I mean, it looked like brontosaurus ribs hanging out of the Flintstone mobile. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so we go to ford this one, and literally I thought we were going to have to take some of the big bushels of weed and use them as oars to paddle to the other shore because it floated. It was deep enough, all of a sudden it just bobbed up like a cork. And I thought, oh, shit. What are we going to do? So we both get out and put our legs out the door, and the water's not even like 6 inches deep, man. So we just literally just walked the little clown car to the other side and got water in the floorboard. And anyway, so I finally get home that morning. My mom says, hey, I need to borrow your car to run to the store. She's like, why is the carpet wet and soggy? And good God, what's that smell? Did you all hit a skunk? Yes, it was a skunk, Mom. That was the talk about white knuckle. Every single car I saw, I'm like, should we pull off the road and start running? Anyways, good times. It was fun on that side of the galaxy. Anyways.
Fun. All right, we're getting close.
That's so funny. Yeah. So when I was a kid, my mom took us to church one morning, and at the time I didn't know what weed smelled like or anything like that. And so I asked my mom, I'm like, what is that smell? And she's like, oh, it's just a skunk. And at the time we were living in the desert, I didn't think about whether skunks lived in that area or not. But I always remembered that, like, that's crazy. I actually got to smell a skunk going to church one day. And when I grew up a little bit older and I actually started like smelling what weed was, it finally hit me, like, probably just a couple of years ago, like, oh my God, my mom fucking lied to me. Somebody was smoking at the church and my mom told me they were skunks, because there's no fucking skunks out in the goddamn desert. They don't live out there. I got 2 skunks living underneath my house right now in the mountains. They don't live in the desert.
I love that song by Ray Stevens, Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? That's when the skunk went berserk in that little California church. Everybody was standing up saying hallelujah. Woo-hoo!
Right. I know. Go ahead. Sorry, Shane. I just had to say that.
No, that's fine. We're well over 2 hours. We're about 2 hours, guys. So before we go,
I got to jump off here. I got my brother in studio here. We're laying down tracks. It's time to record.
I just want
guitar and piano.
So, Yona, since you're going to be the first one to go, you want to remind everybody about your podcast and where they can find you before you get on?
Yes, Peasants Podcast. Hi, Yona with the lower cast. I had my YouTube channel that I started in 2006, and that had over 500 songs and over 300 subscribers, and that got yeeted 6 months ago. So I went to my second channel, which got yeeted over a month and a half ago, and I've gotten that one built up to 150 subscribers and had over 100 songs uploaded there. Then I put up my third channel, and they yeeted that within 2 weeks before I could even get 20 songs on there. So I'm on the Odyssey. And for the, if you occasionally don a MAGA hat, I don't judge. You can catch me on Rumble too. And there's, what's the other one that I record? BitChute. I put my stuff on BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, and actually Facebook, because I still like to reach out and talk to Nana and Peepaw.
Thanks for joining us tonight, Yona.
Thank you, Yona.
Thank
It's a
you,
pleasure
honey.
being with you guys always, Shane. And I'll keep in touch. I am finally going to release those other 3 articles I've done for the history rhymes with Yona.
Excellent.
History doesn't always repeat itself, but it rhymes, Shane. Love you guys. Talk safety. Ways dolly gay.
Love you, brother.
All right. So, Warren, I mean, Mr. Presidential Candidate, can you tell everybody about your show one more time, or are you too high to remember?
This show has been very invasive of my privacy. I just want to let you know this right up the bat. And I love it. You dirty little minxes. You're ferreting into my life. I love it. Your dirty little hands. Especially yours, Shane. The little Lord of the Rings prince you are.
Who's running against? I wonder who's running against you.
Crackheads. They're not going to win. They can't even spell president.
I know, like what party are you running in? You never actually said that.
I did. I said it was a crack party. All day, crack this. I got a book that's made out of crack. Read it first, then smoke it.
So we got Joe Exotic running for 2024. Come on. The Tiger King himself. I'm waiting for Carol Baskins to make an appearance.
Yeah. See,
Warren, if the Tiger King is running, you might have competition.
See, I'm pleading to the OGs back in the 80s when crack was king, right? All my peeps from back then, my boomers from the 80s that still like to smoke the rock.
I cannot wait to see Crack King and Tiger King debate on stage. This is going to be the best.
Absolutely.
Live at the Civic Center, Crack King versus Tiger King. Be there, be there, be there. We're going to fill the Metrodome up to the roof with mud.
That's right. That's right.
So where can they find you?
Yes, channels, shows, Warren. You got this.
Fine. It'll get me out of here.
Yes.
Apparently, that's how you get out of this purgatory. Of course, dog, I understand. I'm trying to get out of here, too. All right. So I'm at W. Dearman on Twitter. And don't laugh at me, Shane. It's just my function in life.
Wait, hold on. I gotta figure out a point to. I can't point to Warren.
Whatever you do that's wrong, do the opposite.
Oh.
I have a link tree. It's link tree with the Extra Bulla on the thing, that's where everything is. You can find all the shows and stuff. And yes. Thank you, Nightbot. That's very kind of you. You're a very sweet person.
Oh, you got the Nightbot set up. Your YouTube channel is more high tech than ours.
Bleep bloop. Send me some cash. That's what Nightbot's saying. Anyway, no. But yeah, so you can find me on there. We got what's this Thursday? So Saturday night, me and President Jimi will be doing the secret show midnight Eastern with a ragtag group of misfits and scientists that have lost their way. Mm-hmm. So and then some shit over the weekend. I haven't figured it out yet because I've got life stuff going on too. The IRL, as the kids say in real life.
IRL, yeah.
So some of the scheduling is kind of the shows maybe kind of in different places for a while, but the secret show should remain intact. That should be set in granite, not moving anywhere. So,
but that's a secret, so nobody knows about it.
Yeah, there is no secret show. That's the secret, or is there? If you have crack, it's any show you want, baby, because that's what Daddy does. And I have tassels I put on for these for the girls.
Welcome to my
You've been to
life,
Vegas.
gentlemen. Welcome to my life.
You've been to Vegas.
As long as the tassels are the only thing you're twirling on camera, we'll be okay.
Most of the time.
All right. All right,
Hell,
Johnny, where can people find you?
I'm nowhere, dude. I'm everywhere. I mean, just find my name and look me up. I'm easy to find. If you want to find me, you find me. No, I suppose if anybody really, really wanted to reach out to me, Twitter is kind of where I hang out. I'm on Facebook a little bit, but not really. Like Yona said, it's just to keep track of old friends and stuff. I don't.
That's where Johnny. If you go on Twitter, Johnny will be talking about Monopoly an awful lot.
No, I don't talk about it that much anymore. But I've been talking about Elon and his stupid, antics, and his blowing up his rocket, and getting rid of legacy checks, and and he's. We'll talk about it some other time, but he's actually keeping certain ones for celebrities and people that he likes. So he's
But not
actually
for Johnny Akzam. You don't get to keep your check, right?
Well, it's not just me; it's just other people. It's a disturbing situation that you guys will cover on a show sometime.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, Joe, where can people find you?
Right now, I'm mainly on Twitter, Idaho Joe, or ID Joe for Idaho. Do a little bit of stuff for Kind Idaho if you're following kindidaho.org, Kind Idaho Medical Marijuana Movement in the state of Idaho. Doing work on that. And I'm also working on the Chase Oliver, Chasing Liberty for President. Doing that in support of, Libertarian candidate 2024. Giving good old Joe Exotic a run for his money. But right now, no, it's actually fun because you're looking at one of those youthful presidential candidates. He's under 40. He's looking at that millennial level energy. Where his main competition right now is all of the geriatric squad. He's half the age of the candidates right now that the president, that the Democrats and Republicans are putting forward. Yeah, well,
Touche.
I'm somewhere in between the geriatric squad and my guy Chase. But yeah, it's time to put some youthful energy and some pizzazz into the office. 40 years, how long Biden's been in politics since 73, man.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about legalization of marijuana, the fact that Biden's never going to touch it. He spent 50 years building his political empire around making weed illegal. You think he's going to undo that with a stroke? No, man, never going to happen.
No.
We've got dinosaurs like Feinstein that won't just leave.
Pelosi won't leave. Schumer.
And those are just
won't
the Democrats that are a problem. Not to mention the dinosaurs over on the GOP side that have been against that kind of stuff anyway because they can't farm.
It doesn't change. It's all the same people, all the same places. Just because you're blue dog Democrats, tough on crime. Now you got your red rhinos.
Mm-hmm.
Tough on crime. Got to have that big state to make sure everybody toes the line. Yeah.
And Jimmy, when's the next episode of what?
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 What? What the hell?
What? I will. What is it today? Thursday. I'll be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific. So we're back here on KRTD.
Excellent. And I'm going to make my announcement because I've been too lazy to put any other promotion in place because, all of you know how good I am at promotion. Right, Johnny?
You're working on it. You're getting better.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to be starting a show on the 7th called Citizen Shane. Credit to Johnny for the name there. And we're going to talk about all kinds. We're going to do panels like this, maybe with a few less people, maybe like 3 people instead of 10. But we're going to do panels like this. We're going to do different news topics, some interviews. I'm going to do my candidate interviews again, ripping into the candidates a little bit. Some activist interviews and just some random shit. And they're going to be on Sundays at whatever time I decide to do them. And I'll throw out a tweet at some point about what time the show is going to be because I haven't decided yet. But I'll decide maybe by the 6th. That way I'll have a good day of promotion. No, I'll decide within the next couple of days. So I'll have a few weeks of promotion. As soon as I get some graphics.
We need a Citizen Shane in the bucket of chicken.
I don't know. We might have to in the logo, in the thumbnail, with the newspaper and the headline that we talked about. You might have to sneak a bucket of chicken somewhere in there, just in the corner, like hidden, a little bucket of chicken. Popeyes, has to be Popeyes, and then. We'll only be the ones that know about that, and you can hide it in the corner like a Where's Waldo thing, like an Easter egg somewhere in the logo. And from now on, we'll always know because of his escapade with chicken. But that sounds like fun, Shane. Yeah, I think Citizen Shane will be a good addition to your.
And I just want to let everybody know what our first show is going to be because I've already decided. Our first show is going to be a show discussing worker co-ops versus unions versus non-union jobs. What are the benefits and what are the downsides of each one of them? And Johnny is going to join us as a panelist because he's a big worker co-op guy.
Well, it's a better option than the other 2 you just mentioned. But yeah, there's better options than even worker co-ops. But we'll settle for that as a transitional stage to a better resource-based economy or something. But
we'll see who else I can rope into doing the show. All right, so we've been on here for over 2 hours, and we don't want to be on here for 3. So,
Right.
Let's all say goodnight. And
Here, wait. Huge shout out to everyone that's been watching. Thank you guys all who stuck around, who just came into the show, and then left and is in the comment section now. You guys are all awesome. I truly appreciate you all for being here. And anybody that has a show today that has been put up on the thing, please give them a follow. It definitely helps. Looks like somebody lit their house on fire, or sounds like it. So we're gonna get off of here. All right. Love you guys. Peace out. Talk to you later.